Welcome to the program. Today's topic is an important one, and it has contemporary relevance in that we're going to discuss Iraq, to remain or to depart. This is something that our country is facing for years now, and it's come up periodically with our representatives and the nation at large, and we're going to handle some of the aspects or reasons for remaining and or departing. I'd like to start off with some of the reasons relative to remaining in Iraq. Obviously, there's many justifications or logical deductions that one can make in terms of remaining there or staying there. There's the vernacular approach, there's approaches on a political science level, there's approaches on a political level, but I'd like to discuss some of these things and let the viewing audience contemplate them. The number one of the reasons for remaining there is really a geopolitical one. It can maintain stability while our troops are there, so that any other area, for example, the Kurdish north, wouldn't have really any inclinations to become more aggressive or to take on any more territory, because they know there's an occupying force there, there's a power there that will act as a buffer or a check on that type of thinking. Now, the Kurds have a unique situation there in an autonomous region anyway. We haven't heard much of the Kurdish north. They do have territory that has substantial amount of oil production, but besides that, there are an element there that, with the existing troops of the U.S. nature and also of the other coalition forces there, placed in check. Now, in terms of other aspects to remain, another important feature is relative to the U.S. presence there, avoiding what you'd call a vacuum, because if we're there, we avoid either the Kurds or anybody else taking up any vacuum. So again, we're acting as a buffer beyond just the Kurds, but in the region as well. Having a form of presence there really gives the other entities, nations, or whoever has a geopolitical interest there, that there is a buffer zone, there is a force, there is an occupying element that would make them think twice. So that leads to overall geopolitical stability. And that's one of the justifications that could be used to keep our troops and to keep our influence there, to remain there. Let's look at something beside the practical, the psychological aspect. To many Iraqis, keeping our presence there gives them a way to interpret us as either being protectors or liberators. Of course, it's been about 4 years, but our presence and us remaining there, for many of them, acts as a form of protection. So that is also another justification to remain and keep the status quo as it is now. Now, another reason to remain is that the existing factional problems there will have another aspect to think about, in the sense that they are less inclined to try to take advantage of the instability. In other words, it really prevents one group or another from making a decisive advantage as to their interests. Now, I think we've seen that because we have continual shifts between the Sunnis, the Shias, and other groups, whether they're legitimate or outlaw, whoever they are. It seems at this point neither has really been able to dominate and take advantage or have a decisive impact on who they are in reference to Iraqi society. And that is due to the U.S. presence there and our troops there. So that's another reason or justification to remain, in the sense that one group won't be able to take any decisive advantage over another and maintain this form of status quo or neutrality. Now, of course, us remaining there will also allow the existing Iraqi, let's call it government, to bolster their police and or border security. Obviously, they need time. They've had about 4 years, but with our presence there and remaining there, it gives them further duration to bolster their own internal security, particularly on their police force level and in their border security as well. It's well known, it's been reported in the press and in the political establishments that the Iraqi border is porous, in the sense that there is a lot of activity between Iraq and Syria, Iraq and Iran, and especially the other adjoining countries, but for the most part between Syria and Iran. So by our military presence there, it gives the Iraqi governing body there to form some kind of presence on the borders and in their own internal security. Now, us remaining there also provides what is called a showing of American resolve. By our troops having a presence there, we're telling the existing terrorists, whoever you want to define them as, let's say it's Al-Qaeda or anybody else, that we can follow them all over the world. We can have a presence in Iraq now, and this tells them that, look, we can follow you in Iraq, we can follow you all over. Right now we're following them there, and we're confronting them, and we have a resolve to stand up and to weaken them and to show them that we can confront them by force or by diplomacy or whatever means. So our presence there has that effect as well. Now, on the practical side, the present administration has provided what they call provincial reconstruction teams. Now, these are teams that supposedly are going to provide infrastructure of some kind to the nation of Iraq. I guess they're going to repair what has been destroyed or burned down or somehow damaged. Now, our presence there will assist these provincial reconstruction teams in actually starting their work, providing the plans, the engineering, the construction workers, and so on and so forth. So there is a practical benefit by having our troops there. Another area is in reference to, and this is an offshoot of another issue that we discussed a little earlier, is that by our presence there, we can act as a neutralizing force. So any group, any outlaws, or any political or non-political ideologies will have a neutralizing element, and they'll have to think twice before conducting themselves in a violent way, because we have the troop presence there. So in a sense, the presence there assists in eliminating further violence and acting as a neutralizing force to keep all the others in check and prevent others from coming onto the scene and thinking that they can also be part of a violent solution of things.